Tell me a bit about why Israel agreed to this break, even for this limited amount of time.
Simply because of pressure from the United States and from other Israeli allies to allow for more humanitarian aid into southern Gaza. As you mentioned, there's over 1 million people now in southern Gaza, and some of the gates into Gaza have been closed, so it's been very difficult to get in humanitarian aid. And that pressure on Israel caused Netanyahu to agree to this pause. As you mentioned, the hope is that a pause could ultimately lead to a ceasefire. And President Biden and Secretary Blinken are working overtime to try to achieve a ceasefire by engaging diplomatically with Israel and with the other neighboring countries that have been involved in those discussions.
When we see situations like this, we always kind of look at it on this macro scale. Could this lead to a ceasefire? Could this lead to peace? Because ultimately, that's what we want. But from the day-to-day, this is important because these people need this aid to survive. And I want to read a few numbers here. From May 6th until June 6th, the number of trucks coming in were 68 were averaging a day. That was down from 168 in April, but apparently the number is 500. That's the number that they need, 500 trucks of aid a day for these people. So will this even be enough to actually help the Gazans who are suffering?
I don't know if it will be enough. I think during this pause, they'll try and get in as much aid as they possibly can, and they'll try to change a little bit the way they distribute the aid to make sure it isn't taken by Hamas militants and it is distributed in a fair and equitable way. But as you mentioned, there was much more food, water, and medicine going into Gaza previously, and of course, before October 7th. You can't even compare what's coming in now versus before October 7th.
So President Biden and Secretary of State Antony Blinken are going to be meeting with the NATO Secretary General this week. Of course, Israel is going to be top of mind. This is going to be top of the list when they talk. What does a conversation like them look like? And are we going to be able to see some actionable movement? Because like you said, this may have happened because of some pressure put on Netanyahu by the U.S.
That's right. And, Israel is a non-NATO ally. Which means it's not part of NATO, but it coordinates with NATO. There is intelligence sharing. There's also sharing of technology and cooperation. So they will want the Secretary General of NATO to also be putting pressure on Israel for a ceasefire and galvanizing the other members of NATO also to push Israel. But of course, this meeting will also be about Ukraine.
I have to leave it here. Of course, we could get into this much further, and I'm sure we will have you back. David, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.